Oh my God, it's over. I never thought I would say that today. I just uploaded another video with new evidence that's been unsealed, and now they have settled. I'm in shock.
We recognize that the concerns raised by Miss Lively deserved to be heard. That's it. That's the whole apology. 2 years, tens of millions of dollars, a courtroom battle that had half of Hollywood holding their breath. And what did Blake Lively walk away with? A sentence. One carefully worded, lawyer-approved, absolutely toothless sentence that doesn't admit anything, doesn't apologize for anything, and doesn't explain anything. If you were expecting fireworks, they just handed you a soggy match. Here's the image I need you to hold in your head right now. Picture a courtroom. The doors are wide open. The jury is seated. The evidence is stacked on the table. The cameras are ready. The whole world is watching. And then, 2 weeks before the opening statement, somebody quietly closes the door, turns off the lights, and slides a piece of paper under the table. No verdict, no accountability, no truth delivered under oath. Just a joint statement that reads like it was written by a committee of people who hate each other, but hate headlines even more. That is exactly what happened this week between Blake Lively and Justin Baldoni, and we need to talk about what it actually means.
Oh my God, it's over. I never thought I would say that today. I just uploaded another video with new evidence that's been unsealed, and now they have settled. I'm in shock, actually. So they've come out with this statement now. I'm going to read it for you. This is from the Daily Mail, where it says, "It ends with us settled. Blake Lively and Justin Baldoni avoid explosive trial after feuding co-stars finally..."
Before we go any further, if you are new here, subscribe to Celebrity Newspedia right now, because we do not just cover the drama, we expose what the headlines are hiding. And trust me, there is a lot hiding underneath this settlement that the mainstream coverage is completely glossing over. Hit subscribe and stay with me, because this one goes deep. So let us rewind. Because to understand why this settlement is so shocking, you have to understand what was actually at stake here.
They reached agreement in the multi-million-dollar case. Blake Lively has called time on her bitter 2-year legal battle with Justin Baldoni in a surprise move just 2 weeks before the case was set to go to trial. The Daily
It started in December 2024 when Blake Lively filed a legal complaint against Justin Baldoni, her co-star and director on It Ends With Us. The allegations were serious. We are talking sexual harassment claims, a coordinated PR campaign allegedly designed to destroy her reputation, retaliation, and breach of contract.
Mail can exclusively reveal the actress finally reached a settlement with Baldoni's production company, Wayfarer Studios, as well as a PR firm he hired over claims of retaliation and breach of contract.
This was not a messy celebrity spat. This was a formal legal war, with receipts, with text messages, with hired crisis management firms, and with a paper trail that Baldoni's team spent months trying to bury. And the public absolutely took sides. Social media split right down the middle. Team Blake, Team Justin, hashtags flying, think pieces everywhere. People were analysing body language from press junkets, dissecting interviews frame by frame, pulling apart promotional appearances looking for clues. The internet turned this into the celebrity trial of the decade before the trial even began. Here is where it gets interesting. Justin Baldoni was not just a director and co-star. He had spent years carefully crafting a public image as one of the good guys in Hollywood. The feminist ally, the emotionally evolved man, the guy who cried on camera about toxic masculinity and got a TED Talk out of it. That was the public Justin Baldoni. And then the unsealed documents started painting a very different picture.
Wow, what happened here? I am really shocked right now. And then it says the statement did not include an apology from either of the parties, who have been locked in a messy court battle since December 2024.
A picture of someone allegedly orchestrating a calculated takedown of a woman who dared to push back on set. And that right there is the core of this entire story. The gap between the image and the reality. That gap is enormous. That gap is the whole case. Now, here is the thing that nobody is saying loudly enough. By the time this settlement was announced, the judge had already gutted Blake's case. 10 of her 13 claims had been dismissed.
Peace, including a respectful environment online. The settlement comes after a judge last month sensationally gutted Lively's case, dismissing 10 of her 13 claims, including all of her SH allegations.
All of her sexual harassment allegations gone. What remained heading into trial?
The trial was still due to so as you know, today was a 2-week mark of when this trial was supposed to happen, when it was supposed to start. It says here that the trial was still due to kick off on May 18, but covering only 3 counts: retaliation, aiding and abetting retaliation, and breach of an agreement, known as the contract writer.
There were 3 counts: retaliation, aiding and abetting retaliation, and breach of contract. And critically, Justin Baldoni himself had been removed as a named defendant. So the trial that was 2 weeks away was not even against Baldoni personally anymore. It was against his production company and his PR firm. So ask yourself this question honestly. If Blake Lively's legal team was standing in that courtroom arguing she lost $175 million in earnings...
As you know, there were no defendants left in the case. It says here, in a pre-trial hearing last week, Lively's attorneys argued that the actress had lost tens of millions in endorsement on top of 9-figure hits to her earnings and profits. Figures weigh fair side.
Profits and endorsements, and the other side was calling those numbers pie in the sky.
Broken down as a $143 million loss in lost profits and $132 million in lost earnings, and several millions more for lost endorsements. I mean, this is crazy. And then they keep talking about all the things that we already know here. I'm so shocked right now. I mean,
fantasy figures, and the judge had already dismissed the most explosive allegations before a single witness took the stand. Who exactly was winning this case going into trial? The answer is nobody, and that is why they settled. But here is what the settlement cannot erase.
But the fact that they did it now, after everything that has come out, why right now? Before this weekend, they had a deadline to release all these to unseal all these documents, who did a lot of extra damage, by the way.
The documents that were unsealed before the deadline, those documents did not disappear when the lawyers shook hands. The text messages are still out there. The PR strategy emails are still out there. The behind-the-scenes communications that allegedly show a coordinated effort to spin public narrative against Blake Lively are still out there. You cannot unring that bell. The settlement stopped the trial, but it did not stop the truth that was already in the public record. Settled before trial exposed everything. Let that sit for a second, because here is what that phrase really means. It means both sides looked at what was coming and made a calculation. Baldoni's team looked at 3 remaining counts and decided that whatever a jury might award was a bigger risk than whatever this settlement cost them. And Blake's team looked at a case that had been significantly weakened by judicial dismissals and decided that a guaranteed outcome, even a quiet one, was better than gambling on 3 counts in front of 12 strangers. This was not justice. This was math. And now here is the question that nobody in Hollywood wants to answer. If this is how it ends, what does that say about every woman who comes forward in this industry? You fight for 2 years. You survive the leaks, the smear campaigns, the public opinion wars, the character assassination. You watch 10 of your 13 claims get thrown out. You watch the main defendant get removed from the case entirely. And then you settle for a statement that says
everything, so we know everything. Then they settled, and we don't know if there was any money exchanged here, by the way, but always after a settlement, both parties agree to not talk about what they agreed upon in the settlement, and most likely to never mention this.
What we do know is that the joint statement did not include an apology from either party. What we do know is that Baldoni was not a named defendant by the time the settlement was reached. What we do know is that the unsealed documents had already done damage, not just to Blake, not just to Justin, but to other people connected to this entire story. The fallout was already baked in before the ink dried on any agreement. The only winners here are the lawyers. Read that back. The only winners here are the lawyers. And that is not cynicism. That is just what happens when 2 well-resourced parties spend years in litigation and walk away from the courthouse without a verdict. The attorneys get paid, the truth gets a gag order, and the public gets a press release. Settled before trial exposed everything. So here is where we land. Blake Lively walked into this fight with a very public set of allegations and walked out with a very quiet piece of paper. Justin Baldoni walked in as the named villain of one of the biggest celebrity lawsuits in recent memory and walked out with his name officially removed from the defendant list. Nobody won, nobody lost. Everybody just agreed to stop talking. And here is your question for the comments today. Do you think Blake made the right call settling before this went to trial, or do you think she left the real accountability on the table? Drop your honest take below, because this conversation is not over just because the lawyers say it is. If this breakdown gave you something the headlines did not, then do what you already know to do. Like this video, share it with someone who has been following this case, subscribe to Celebrity News Wikipedia, and turn on notifications so you never miss a breakdown of the biggest celebrity scandals unfolding in real time. Because the story does not end with a settlement. It ends when we stop asking questions. And we are nowhere near done asking questions.